Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Monday, February 1st. I have to let you know it is Metcalf's Monday, which means the update today is brought to you by Metcalf's Markets. Metcalf's is a fourth-generation family-owned and operated market with stores in Madison, at Hilldale and behind Westtown Mall, and in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. They work to support local farmers and products and have over 3,500 local products on their shelves. And you can pick up your order for pickup or delivery at shopmetcalf.com anytime. We appreciate support from Metcalf's Markets of local independent community journalism. Today we're going to start with the non-COVID news because this is just kind of a wild story that's breaking and kind of really, if you've been on social media around Madison in the last couple of hours, you may have already seen this. This is a Sun Prairie Patrick Marsh Middle School 6th grade lesson. Keeping in mind, this is the first day of Black History Month. And what 6th graders got today in their social studies class was this. A slave stands before you. This slave has disrespected his master by telling him, "You are not my master. How will you punish this slave?" Parents in the school district did not appreciate this, asking their children to hypothetically discuss how you would punish a slave who did not appreciate being a slave on the first day of Black History Month. So the school district issued sent an email to families, which then they shared with media, to apologize for what they call a grave error in judgment. A small group of teachers developed and used an activity that was neither racially conscious nor aligned to our district mission, vision, values, curriculum, or district equity statement. The district says they launched an investigation, stopped this lesson from being taught, and actually placed the teachers on administrative leave, which is consistent with district policies. The student services team, this is from an email from Brad Sarin, who's the superintendent there. Our student services team will be following up with students from these classrooms and will be available to support other students in processing their feelings about this incident. Further information will come from the school leadership, including opportunities for listening sessions. Additionally, Patrick Marsh leadership team will be working with Black community leaders to work toward community healing. So doesn't really say much about the context. Not that it matters, but one is curious, like what on earth lesson were you trying to teach where that would come up? You know, it's not like this. It's not like they could describe it. Oh no, what we meant was, and then it'll be fine. That's not going to happen. But I'm just curious what on earth was the situation where this seemed okay. This was the Sun Prairie School District. This is Patrick Marsh Middle School, 6th grade social studies class, for those who are just joining. So this happens frequently, too frequently, that you'll have something really, really insensitive like this happen. It happened less this year because school's been virtual and you haven't had this sort of interaction and opportunities for slip-ups. But it was not much more than a year ago that I was in Sun Prairie covering a student walkout because of a blackface incident at a basketball game. Obviously, in the 2018-19 school year, there were several incidents of teachers using racial slurs. There were a couple of, there's one assault of a Black girl by an adult white man that we covered. These things happen in schools, and it's really unfortunate. And again, I have no idea in what context, like what would lead a teacher to feel like this is an appropriate question to ask a middle school student. But we'll see if they save. We'll see if there's any more follow up on this. I am going to speak with one of the moms of one of the students, one of the moms who originally posted this on Facebook, where it really, sparked a lot of outrage. I'm talking to her right after we're done here, in fact. So I've got a story up, basically just the very basic outlines on Madison365.org right now. But if you check that again at around 5:30 or 6 o'clock, I'll have some additional comments from a mom, because it's easy. And what news outlets usually do is lead with the apology. Right? It's easy to say, here's what the superintendent who is in charge of this school says about this thing. But let's talk about let's hear from the people who were actually affected by it. So that's my priority. So I've been sorry, a little bit late today. I was trying to get a hold of a parent. And unfortunately, the one parent I was able to get a hold of wasn't able to speak until 5, which is great. I appreciate her even giving me that few minutes. But I will have that voice added to my story a little bit later this evening. So that's it's one of those things that just it's one of these stories that I hate to see them, but they pop up every once in a while, and you go, what are you thinking? What is so? Let's get to some other better news. How about that? And then we'll do COVID after the break. There's not a lot of COVID news today because it's a Monday and there just wasn't a lot of testing, but we'll go over that in a minute. It's a great, Patricia has a great question here, and this is something we should pose to the school district. If this is how you start Black History Month, are you doing anything? I mean, they have in the past, just the past 2 years, not very long, the past 2 or 3 years, they've started to really recognize Black History Month in Sun Prairie. I have no idea how they're doing that this year, if at all, because this year's so different in every other way. But that's a terrific question, and one that I will pose to the school district. But because it's Black History Month, we have some better news for you. And that one of these pieces is if you have HBO Max, or if you can sign up for a 7-day free trial or something, there's a new movie on there called Growing Up Milwaukee. It's a documentary. It's by Tyson Wardlaw. It's had been very well received in film festivals, and actually won some film festival awards. And it is just today making its debut. It's debuting to the whole world on HBO Max, which is owned by Warner Studios, which is like in pandemic year, Warner's putting all their big movies on HBO Max simultaneously when they're releasing them in theaters. So this is a big deal for Tyson Wardlaw. This movie has been kind of around for a while. It's been an idea for a while. It was kind of an online docu-series at first, and then it grew into this much larger project. And it follows 3 young Black people growing up in Milwaukee over the course of 2 years. It's a significant, chunk of time. The idea being, Milwaukee, if you look at the statistics, Milwaukee's the worst place to live if you're Black in the United States, or one of them. It's one of the most segregated cities in the United States. And it's one thing to have those statistics in front of you. It's another thing to hear the stories behind the statistics, and that's what led Tyson to do this movie. Now, if you go to Madison365.org right now, on the front page, Naomi Wolf, our reporter, has an interview with Tyson Wardlaw, who made this movie. You can get a sense of where she's coming from, what she wants to accomplish with this film, and the lengths she went to get it made and to get it distributed, to get it on HBO Max. But then I recommend you go. If you have HBO Max, go watch it. Go watch it. One of the things about this year, because she made this movie not knowing, obviously, that 2020 was going to be what it was. Right? And one thing that all summer long, white people kept saying, I just want to learn. I want to read White Fragility. I want to read The Warmth of Other Suns. I want to read, I want to learn. And this is one way to do it. This is an easy way to do it. The 2 hours, get a sense of what growing up Black in Milwaukee's like. I'd recommend you do it. Also today, we are launching our Black History Month series, which is sponsored by National Guardian Life Insurance Company. So we're going to be a 4-part every Monday this month. We're going to do something about the history of Black Madison. So today, I wrote a piece just about the sort of the very first, I call them the founders, but the very first Black folks who lived here in Madison. The first that we know of, the first that's in the records, was a servant at a hotel, and her name was not ever recorded. So our first Black Madisonian, we don't know her name. But we've got in the upper left there, Mount Zion Baptist Church, which is still going strong on the south side. It used to be on West Johnson Street in the 1920s. The lower left, you got Josie. First name's Josie. I can't remember his last name now. But he started the first Black newspaper. In the middle is John Hill, Hill's grocery store. The lower right is his daughter, Freddie Mae, who was the first woman to graduate from the University of Wisconsin. In the upper right there, you have Beverly Jefferson. This is a really interesting part of the story. Beverly Jefferson was the owner of the American House Hotel. His older brother John had also been the owner of that hotel. Their last name, when they were born out east, their last name was Hemmings. And when they moved to Madison, their father, Eston Hemmings, changed the family name to Jefferson. Why do you think that was? Because Beverly Jefferson's grandfather was Thomas Jefferson, and his grandmother was Sally Hemmings. And he passed as white, even though he was at least, almost half Black. So I think that's just a fascinating piece of Madison history, don't you? So I've got that. That's on the site today, Madison365.org. We're going to be looking at other facets of the history of Black Madison in coming weeks. We're going to have a piece on some musicians, on some educators, on sort of like the first Black woman to do several things, which is really fun. So keep an eye out for that. Also today, Madison's new police chief was sworn in. Dr. Sean Barnes is now officially the chief of police in Madison, Wisconsin. Comes from Chicago. We will do more with him. They're having a sort of a listening session or a meet and greet kind of, a virtual meet and greet. So we're going to have a reporter at that. We'll have more about this, about Dr. Barnes later. We'll probably have him on the show at some point once he gets kind of settled in a little bit. And in national news today, Stacey Abrams, who was behind massive voter registration efforts, voter turnout efforts in Georgia, which many people credit with 2 Democratic senators being elected from Georgia, as well as Joe Biden winning Georgia, has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, citing her work to not only to elect Democrats, but more importantly, to register voters, to encourage voting, to encourage civic participation, which is a big, big deal. All right, so that's the non-COVID news for today. We'll take a short pause. Stay with us if you want the COVID news. It is mostly good news today. A little bit of just 1 or 2 things that I'm like, but we will be back in just a couple seconds. Give me 30 seconds to just get a drink of water, and I will be right back right after this. Stay with us. All right, so one of the issues today is the testing is way down. Like it's a Monday, I get that it's a Monday. There's just not as many tests processed over the weekend. But give me a second. Only 3,500 tests, which is really hardly anything. Only 750 positive cases, which is it's only the second time in the past 3 months that we've been under 1,000. But still, that's almost 20% of the tests are positive today, which again, don't put too much stock in that 1 day rate, because those 3,800 tests. I think I said 3,500. I meant 3,800. Those 3,800 tests were done like over the weekend, and a few were probably Friday and Thursday of last week. And so, reporting them all in one day and getting any sort of information from that rate is not that useful. So don't worry about that. But if you look at the 7-day rate, this is a mixed bag. 19.5% of everyone who was tested in the past 7 days tested positive. That's down from 19.6. So it's basically been, and then before that was 19.5, and then before that was 19.3. So it's been kind of hovering in that just over 19, between 19 and 19 and a half for the past 6 days. Okay, so that's fine. It's not going up. It's not going down. Really, it's just kind of hovering there, which is fine. That's still, the number itself is still on the high side. Okay, I'd rather that be like 10. But the other number that concerns me a little bit is the percentage of all tests, not all people tested. That's 19.5. Percentage of all tests, taking into account that many people are tested more than once, even in a week. The percentage of all tests is 5.4. Not a bad number. What I don't love is that yesterday it was 5.2. Okay, that number has been going down for it's over a month. Yeah, it peaked at 11. It peaked at 11.6 back on January 6th, and it has been going down literally every day since then, to 5.2 yesterday. Now it's 5.4. If it chances are, we just didn't have a lot of testing, so things are thrown a bit off, so it's going to continue to go down tomorrow. It'll turn back around and go down tomorrow. And within a month, it'll be below 3, which is where I want it. I want it below 3. So I'm not terribly concerned. If tomorrow it's 5.6 and then it's 5.8 the day after that, then I'm going to be concerned. Okay? So I will take a look, keep an eye on that, and I'll keep you informed of where that's at and how it goes. Now, we did the other thing that happens on weekends and Mondays is that very few fatalities are reported because it takes a long time to certify the death certificates and all that. So yesterday we had 3 fatalities reported. Today, only 1. So, that's decent news that we're not having big numbers of deaths, but at the same time, it's also great assault. They just don't report a lot of deaths on Sundays and Mondays. So we'll see what deaths look like tomorrow. That'll be more, tell us more. Now, what about immunizations? We passed 100,000 fully immunized over the weekend. Okay, that's pretty good. We have 101,551 people have completed the vaccine today. And that's only 332 more than yesterday. That's not very much. Usually we've been about 5,000 a day. So I'd like to see that higher. We do have, I wonder if this is a reporting thing also. I have to think there were more vaccines given yesterday than this, but we're now at 543,302 complete doses given. They're just doses given. That's only 6,700 since yesterday. That was like 44,000 a day a couple days ago. So either we're just not doing any vaccinations on Sundays, or not doing very many on Sundays, or they're just not getting reported into the data. Either way, don't love that. But we do, we can say 101,000 people, more than 101,000 people are fully vaccinated, and about 340,000 have gotten the first shot and are waiting for the second. It's a start, right? At the current rate, it'd be well over a year before we get 80% of the adult population vaccinated, which is where we want to get to. So we got to ramp it up, right? I know the administration, both at the state level and at the federal level, has committed to trying to do that, to get it moving faster. And we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep asking questions. We'll keep pushing. This is a good question, and I don't have a good answer. We've been asking the same question. I have a question about JJ asks why the Dane County dashboard is falling behind on reporting vaccines. I'm not sure if they're falling behind on reporting or if we're just not doing very many. But I know the dashboard, the Dane County data has had problems in the past few days. Just generally speaking, it's been a little bit late. So I don't know if it's just a technical issue. But the other problem with the vaccine data reporting right now in Dane County and in Wisconsin is that they're not reporting by race and ethnicity. We know there are disparities in other states. There are at least 17 states that have been looked at by CNN and others where white people are just way more likely to get the vaccine, even though black and brown people are way more likely to get COVID. Makes very little sense, but is perfectly predictable, right? So we don't have that data in Wisconsin, though. Okay, so it took the state a long time to start publishing racial data when it comes to infections back in the spring. And we pushed them and we nudged them, and we being the media broadly, kind of nudged them until they did it. So we're doing that now. Like, I know I'm not the only one who's been emailing DHS to say, we need to know. We need race data for this stuff. We know they have it. We know they're asking. We know they're checking. I'm sure they are. They just got to report it so that we can see, is Wisconsin having the same problem as all these other states, right? My guess is that we are, because Milwaukee County, the most black and brown county, is lagging behind Dane County, which is significantly less black, in terms of total vaccinations. So I would guess that we're probably a little bit disparate also. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron, for check this out in the comments, folks. This is a couple of things. Sun Prairie has had an issue, has had a history of issues like this. So, but yeah, Aaron put a link in the comments for us. Thank you, Aaron, for that. That is what I have for you today. I'm going to be talking with the mom from Sun Prairie in a few minutes, so I will update my story on Madison365 with that. I'm also I'll have her on the podcast tomorrow morning. So if you listen to the It's Only 10 Minutes podcast tomorrow morning, we will have an update on this. I'm going to be asking some more questions. We'll gather more information, even if nothing else other than reaction from parents, which is important. We'll have that on the podcast tomorrow morning. So wherever you get your podcasts, just search for It's Only 10 Minutes. Otherwise, go to madison365.org/podcasts, and there'll be a Spotify link there. So that's all I have for you. Appreciate you tuning in today and sticking with me through the news and asking your questions and giving your comments. I really appreciate the dialogue. I really do. So with that, I appreciate it again, and have a wonderful evening, and we will see you again tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.